Hey, what's up guys, DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Master Duels Eldlich deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this is our first ever Master Duels deck profile on the channel. And this is the deck that I've been using to climb all the way through Platinum. It is an amazing deck that has all sorts of different techs in it for you guys to combat the meta, and I am super excited to show you guys this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name shirt every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. And definitely comment down below what deck you've been playing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Eldlich, the Golden Gucci Lord himself. I love this card. He's an absolute boss of a monster. He has the ability to send this card and a spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard, and then target one card on the field and send that card to the graveyard, which is a super powerful effect to just be able to send a card from the field to the graveyard. And if this card is in the graveyard, you can send a spell or trap card that you control to the graveyard to add this card back to your hand. Then you can special summon a zombie monster from your hand, and if you do that until the end of the opponent's turn, it gains 1,000 attack points and can't be destroyed by card effects, basically letting you special summon himself back to your side of the field and going all the way up to 3,500. This is a awesome boss monster for this deck. We then play 3 copies of MyTea. I never thought I would be able to say that again, but this card is a crazy powerful hand trap. I love MyTea in my build because basically your opponent can either take the MyTea challenge where they're going to just keep special summoning and give me so much card advantage that when I finally do go, I have all the traps that I need to be able to set up, or I'm going to make them stop their entire turn. So this card is a really powerful hand trap right now, and I really love this card in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. We only play the 6 monsters. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of the Eldlich White Destiny. This card is a really good one-of in here. You don't ever really need more than one of this card, because it has the ability to special summon a zombie monster from your hand or graveyard, which is always going to be the Golden Gucci Lord. And he has the ability that if you don't control an Eldlich monster, then you have to special summon an Eldlich monster with this effect. And for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except for zombies. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard to set a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck, which is very good to be able to get our trap monsters with this card's effect. We then play 2 copies of Eldlich Black Awakening. Black Awakening is a really good card. It has the ability to be able to special summon a zombie monster from your hand or deck and face a defense solution, but if you don't control an Eldlich monster, you have to special summon out an Eldlich monster with this card's effect. So this card is a really good card to be able to get your copy of your Eldlich the Golden Lord directly from the deck onto your side of the field. So I really like this card as a 2-of in here. It also has the ability to banish itself from the graveyard to be able to set a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck, but you can only use either or of the effects per turn with all of your Eldlich cards. We then play 2 copies of Cursed Eldland because it is at 2 in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels right now. It's a really good searcher for the deck, and it has the ability that you can't declare attacks with monsters except for zombies, which is totally fine, because usually we're just going to basically put our copy of the Eldlich, the Golden Gucci Lord, on our side of the field to be able to just deal with any card that our opponent has. Usually I end up summoning 1 to 2 of them, and it just totally goes in for game with those. And it has the ability that you can either pay 800 life points to add an Eldlich monster or a golden land spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you have the ability to send an Eldlich monster or golden land spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, but it has to be sent from the field to activate that effect. So this card comes in very handy to combo with your Golden Lord, because basically you can send this to the graveyard and special summon him back while also getting a Foolish Burial and being able to search him from the deck off of the first pay 500 effect or pay 800 effect. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is really good because we don't super need the extra deck, which is why I really like this deck, and why it's been the deck that I've been playing a lot in Master Duels, is because if you don't have a complete extra deck, as long as you have basically 2 Gustav Max, you're going to be okay. So this card comes in very handy because you don't need the extra deck all that much in this particular build. It has the ability to basically banish 3 or 6 cards from your extra deck to be able to draw 1 card for every 3 that you banish. So this card comes in very handy to be able to get me additional draws. So that's it for the spells, guys. Not a lot of spells. Let's get into the traps. Now, we play a lot of traps in this deck. So for the first trap, we're going to be playing a single copy of Golden Lands Forever. This card is a really good counter trap that has the ability that when a spell trap or monster effect is activated, while you control an Eldlich monster, you can tribute any zombie monster and negate the activation if you destroy that card. Basically Solemn Judgment, but you have to tribute a zombie instead of paying half your life points, which is pretty good, especially when you contribute any of your trap monsters. We then play 3 copies of this Golden Land guy. This card is a really good card as well because it lets you special summon him as a normal monster that's a zombie light level 5, 1800 attack, 1500 defense, and he is also treated as a trap card. And he has the ability that then if you control an Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can banish a card from either player's graveyard. And then during the end phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard to set an Eldlich or spell or trap directly from your deck, and you can only use one of his effects per turn. The reason I played 3 instead of 2 of this card is because I find that being able to summon into the field helps me go in for game a little bit, and there's a lot of decks running around right now that if you do get that banish off of this card's effect, it really can impact the game. So I really like playing 3 of him to get that extra banish from graveyard, whether it be playing against Sky Striker and banishing off their rays, or being able to play against another Eldlich deck and banishing their own Golden Lords from their graveyard. This card comes in extremely handy as a 3 of, in my opinion. We then play 3 copies of Conquistador. Conquistador is really good because he has the ability to special summon himself as a null monster that's a zombie light with 500 attack and 1800 defense as a level 5, but he has the ability, if you control an Eldlich, then you get the ability to destroy 1 face-up card on the field, which is pretty good to be able to just pop a card on the field that might be able to interrupt your opponent mid-turn. You can also banish from the graveyard to set an Eldlich or spell or trap directly from your deck to your side of the field, and you can only use each effect of him once per turn, which is a really good effect to be able to use either or of the effects per turn. But being able to pop a card is just really good, but make sure that you special summon him in defense position because he only has 500 attack. We then play 3 copies of the Eldlich Scarlet. Eldlich Scarlet is one of the best traps in the entire deck because it has the ability to special summon a zombie monster from the deck or the graveyard, but if you control no Eldlich monster, you have to special summon the Eldlich Lord, and it has the ability that you can banish this card from the graveyard to set a Golden Land spell or trap from your deck to your side of the field, and you can only use one of its effects per turn, but that's totally fine because basically it keeps you rolling through your plays. You play pretty much 6 of these trap monsters, and between the 1 White Destiny and 2 Black Awakening, you're playing 6 of the Elixirs as well. We then play a single copy of Imperial Order, which just went to 0 on the TCG list, but is still at 1 on Master Duels. This card is very good in the current meta, especially against Sky Strikers and stuff like that. You can flip this card and basically stop their entire game plan and go in with the Golden Lord for game, which is really good. I cannot tell you how many times I have put this card on the field and my opponent has just surrendered the game because this card is just so good in Master Duels in this deck. I then play a single copy of Vanity's Emptiness because once I get set up with this card, if you activate the copy of Vanity's Emptiness, it will surprise your opponent. When I looked at the list and saw this card was at 1, I knew I had to play at least 1 copy of it in my Eldlich deck because this card is literally insane because neither player can special summon monsters, but if a card is sent from the deck or the field to the graveyard, you destroy this card. But with a 2500 attack point monster, when I'm already set up, I don't really have to worry about it. So this card is very helpful to stop the opponent for 1 turn while I'm trying to counter them with all of my different traps. For the tech trap cards, we're playing Double Torrential Tribute because this card comes in very handy, especially if we special summon the Golden Lord from our hand with his effect. He can't be destroyed by card effects, so you can actually special summon it from hand and then activate this to board wipe your opponent if it was already set on the field, which is pretty good. We then play 3 copies of my personal attack in the deck, and that is 3 copies of Ice Dragon Prison. This card is so good in the mirror match because you can actually target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated, and then you banish a monster from both players' field that have the same type as each other, but you don't have to banish them. You can actually do what I've done a lot in this deck, and it's actually bring back their copy of their Eldlich monster to our field, and then I just keep it on the field and attack them with it because it's just such a really interesting thing to do, to take their Golden Lord and have like 4 of them on my field, which has happened with this card's effect. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is really good because it basically says no to anything because it has the ability to pay half your life points when your opponent activates the effect of a spell trap or or summons a monster, including special summoning, which is a pretty good effect to basically just stop them in their tracks. We then play 3 copies of Gozen Match, because Gozen Match makes it so that you can only control 1 attribute of monster, which we're only ever going to control light in this deck, really. So this card comes in pretty handy to be able to stop your opponent from special summoning multiple attributes onto their side of the field, whether it be Blue Eyes trying to summon out VFD, or whether it be your copies of your Tri Brigade where they're trying to summon light and wind, or even fire monsters with their Fangtail. So you can basically use this card to shut down your opponent's plays. And then we play 3 copies of Skill Drain, because Skill Drain is ridiculously good in this deck because you don't need your monster effects on the field, because none of them activate on the field anyways. So this card comes in really handy to basically pay that 1,000 life points and then stop your opponent from activating any monster effects and negate them on the field. Is just a really awesome card in this deck. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Vampire Sucker. This card comes up every so often if I want to get my copies of the golden land monsters off the field. To link some of this to kind of clean up the board a little bit and be able to use their effects in the graveyard. You can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to their field in defense position, and then it becomes a zombie monster. And if a zombie monster is special summoned from either graveyard, you get to draw a card. So this card does come in handy every so often. 1 copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, just in case I need it. Basically, it's just toolbox from here. 1 copy of Phoenix to be able to pop spells and traps. I play a single copy of the Light Charmer. The Light Charmer is here just in case my opponent's playing an Effect Veiler and I can grab it from their grave, because you get to target a light monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it. Or if they're playing in the mirror match, because I've been encountering a lot of different Eldlich decks, so I play this card as a 1-of to be able to grab those cards. This card is really good in the deck. 1 copy of IP Masquerena. IP Masquerena lets me link summon during the opponent's turn. Again, kind of toolbox with the Nightmare Unicorn. I'm not worried about it if I hit it with the Extravagance. 2 copies of Link Spider, just in case I need it, to be able to link away one of my Golden Lands monsters quickly to be able to use its effect to get an Elixir. 2 copies of Gustav Max. Gustav Max is single-handedly the most important card in the extra deck, and I did consider playing 3 of it in here, but you detach a material from this card to inflict 2,000 points of damage to your opponent. But I've just started playing it at 1. It's totally fine, or not a 1 at 2. This card is really good as a 2-of because it can end games, because with your Eldlich monsters, you're usually going to do around, if you special summon one from the hand, it goes to 35, and then if you get one out on the field that's at 25, you can attack directly for around 6,000, overlay them both during main 2, and make this, and then do the last 2,000 points. So I cannot tell you how many times I've done that with this card. 2 copies of Juggernaut Levy, just in case I need it to attack with a really big monster. So it's kind of here just for utility. 2 copies of Constellar Pleiades, because I can bounce stuff with it, and all of our trap monsters are level 5. So this card comes in really handy. And then a single copy of AA Zeus, because AA Zeus can board wipe, but it's at 1 in the game, so you can only play 1 copy of Zeus. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a real awesome thing to be able to do all these different Master Duel deck profiles for you guys. I'm really glad that you guys want to see these, because this is a really awesome game and a really interesting format. So if you guys want to see any other Master Duel decks, definitely comment down below and tell me what you guys would love to see, because I would love to hear from you guys. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.